Yeah, we're good? Okay. So, good evening. We're up to our fourth lecture, right? Third? Fifth? We're somewhere in the neighborhood. And we promised that tonight we'll be covering question answers. You guys can ask pretty much any question because everybody's got a friend who has a problem. A male friend, a female friend who's having problems with their partners, who had problems with their partners, and you all want to help them out, right? So you guys are going to come out, and you're going to ask the question, you're going to get the answer, you're going to go back, and you're going to help your friend build a proper relationship. Now, I'll tell you, there's a much deeper psychological element to this. A lot of times, things lay in our subconscious, and we're not certain exactly if they're even there, and where they come from, and how they work, but the effects are there. You'll see a person going on a date, 2 dates, 3 dates, everything is going smoothly. All of a sudden, they'll torpedo their relationship. They'll just blow it up somehow. They'll find a weak spot in the person sitting across the table, they'll press on that button, everything will blow up, and they'll come home and they'll go, I don't know what happened. Okay? Now, if we videotape it, which people have done, and we look at it, we say, wait a second, I mean, it doesn't take much brains to realize that, you see, that's a sensitive spot. That's a sensitive point. Why did you push on it? I don't know. Well, in reality, we're extremely smart and dumb at the same time. People are extremely smart. They work things out in their minds without even knowing, 10 steps forward. Kind of like a chess player. They realize, wait a second, this person is pretty decent, and we're having a nice time. And as far as quality goes, we pretty much mesh, and this is good marriage material. So what's going to end up being? End up being that we're going to have, you know, a little points here and some trouble there, and we're going to work through it, and then he's going to propose, and then I'm going to have a difficult time deciding, but eventually I'll decide that yes, and we'll get married. And then what will happen? I don't know. I've never been married. So let's rewind and bring out of the archive all the information I have stored about marriage. So let's see, my parents' marriage, oh, never mind. Okay, let's switch over. My cousin's marriage, poor guy, lost his pants over that one. And okay, so marriage department is screaming, ah, help, forget about it, don't even go there. But none of this is going on consciously. Next thing I know, well, you know what? I don't like guys who are doctors. That's kind of disgusting. Would you consider changing your profession? Okay? And the guy goes, what are you thinking? Are you nuts? Forget about it. And goodbye. And we say, I don't know. Or we go out with the person, and he says, you know, she's nice, but she's not all that pretty. What do you mean she's not all that pretty? I mean, she looks decent plus. No. I've dated nicer. Yeah, and you broke up. So how come you gave that up? Because they were nice. Well, this one is nice. Yeah, but she's not pretty enough. So there goes that. Where does this stuff come from? It comes from the junk we have lying inside of us. One of the assignments I give people who come to me for coaching before marriage is go home and make me a list of what-ifs. All the junk you have inside of you, just pour it all out. Just take it all out. Say, but I don't want to think about negative things. I'm like, you're thinking about it anyway. Okay, might as well put it on paper. Take out a piece of paper and write down all of your what-ifs. Then come back the next day, sit somewhere else, and continue the list. Because you think you're done. There's a lot more junk coming out. Okay, and then bring it all over here, and let's discuss it. Because when a person has at least a logical answer to the what-if, we took the first step towards putting out the fire of fear. Okay? Fear is a fire, and it will eventually consume you. The first step is to get a logical answer. Now, that does not treat the emotional element of it, but at least it's a step in the right direction. You will then need to continue taking steps towards quieting the emotional element, but that I leave up to you. Okay? So tonight we're going to start with all the what ifs. But it's difficult to admit our fears. We don't need to. We have friends, cousins, neighbors who already went through this nonsense, right? So now we're going to find out how to help them. I will start with a question I was asked recently by a client. She said, look, I talked to a friend of mine and she's going through a crisis. And the problem there is that she already got married. She got married. And only 2 months after the marriage, she happened to find on the floor an empty wrapper of a psychiatrical pill. She checked it, and she found out that he suffers. I mean, a person who takes this pill suffers from ADD, or no, it was OCD. But everybody knows what OCD is?
Mm-hmm.
Obsessive compulsive disorder. Okay? Got it? Obsessive compulsive disorder. You guys sure you got it? Let me say it again. Okay. That's obsessive compulsive behavior. You guys sure you got it? Let me say it again. Okay? Now, and she's completely destroyed. I mean, she's depressed, she's crying, she's at her mom's house, emptying tissue packs one after the other. What if this happens to me? What do I do then? Now, she's really afraid. She's worried. And it's a legitimate worry. Okay? It's a legitimate worry. How are you going to know if your partner is medicated? And what do you do if you get up in the morning and you find out that he is, or she is? Raise your hand.
I scratch my beard.
Scratch mine too. Okay. So there's one question. Okay? Anybody is concerned with that? Should I even bother answering it?
Yeah.
No. No. Yeah. Answer
It's not
it.
always a bad thing, though.
I'm sorry?
That's not always a bad thing that your spouse is medicated.
Okay.
Most of the time, it keeps her calm.
And happy and smiling.
Definitely.
That's right. And their hands are really interesting. Now, okay. The idea about that situation, that specific situation, we break into two elements. There are two elements we're involved with here. The first element is the fact that the person suffers from psychiatrical problems, that he is ill and is being treated. Okay? The second element is the fact that we've been lied to. Okay? Now we're going to treat those separately, because the moment we make a big mess out of everything, nothing will work itself out. So let's divide it into two. The person is not perfect, which is okay. Nobody is. Okay? The same imbalance a person can have in their mind, in their brains, they can have in their eyes, which forces them to wear glasses, they can have in their knees, which can force them into having surgery, or they can have in their kidneys, which forces them to take other things, okay? So a chemical imbalance is like any other illness, especially while being treated. I mean, some of us have glasses. We don't go to them and say, how did your husband end up marrying you? You're wearing glasses. You say, yeah, but I'm wearing glasses, so when I wear glasses, I'm doing fine. Says, what if you don't have your glasses? You'll run into the wall, right? Yeah, but that's why I'm wearing my glasses and everything is fine. So as long as the person realizes they have a problem and they're treating it, we're doing fine. The person lied to us. The person lied to us. We need to sit down with this person and break it down. Tell him, look, we need to develop trust. Trust means divulging, opening up to, being exposed to your flaws and weaknesses. Honesty does not mean telling me how your day was at work or at school. That's not called honesty. That's friends do with each other, even over the phone. Honesty between a husband and wife is that you come and you share with me things that I need to know, that sooner or later I'm going to find out, and I want to hear it from you. And that's the part that usually hurts the most. The moment they open the channel of honesty, usually the hurt will heal itself. So yeah, we need to be open, we need to be accepting, and to a person like that I would also say that it's not necessarily partially your fault, but you should examine yourself. What vibes are you giving off? What behavioral patterns do you have that would make your partner afraid to share things with you? Because when a person marries another, they want to share things with them naturally. If your partner has been keeping it away from you, I'm not saying that it is your fault. I'm just saying check yourself out. Make sure that you're open to receiving. Yes?
So, say, I mean, everyone has flaws. So say you have these flaws and you start dating someone. At which stage would you tell them that, you know, like, I feel like this is my weakness, or I have a problem with this, or like I have OCD, for example? Like you just said, like, would you lay it out on the table straight away? Like, how do you play your cards with that? Like, because I feel like someone would run away straight away.
Yeah, I won't start my first date with that. Hi, good evening. My name is Paz. I've got OCD. Right? That's not exactly how I would. I'm sorry? That's not exactly how I would start my first date. I will start to get to know the person and let the other person get to know me just enough for them to be interested beyond the physical. Once they get to know me a little bit, so they'll see my value, and before they start getting emotionally attached, that's the time to tell them. It's not fair to let a person get emotionally involved and only then let them know. But also, if you tell it to them before they develop any connection with you, then they will not see a reason to even stick around. So what we want to do is we want to get it right in the middle. Yes?
My problem is that, like, religious people, they don't live together. They don't have the time to really experience another person's personality.
Mm-hmm.
How does it feel like living with someone?
Mm-hmm.
So when you try to work it out, so maybe you complain about things. You ask your partner to change or to pay attention to other things, but it can lead to a point when your partner is trying to hide things.
Mm-hmm.
Or your partner is not going to be honest to you because tries to avoid the conflict situation.
Okay.
And you're already in the marriage. So what can you do with this?
Okay. Excellent. What's your name?
Petra.
Petra. Petra is asking an excellent question. She's saying, look, in religious marriages, the couple meets. Now, the meetings are extremely platonic. Extremely platonic. They meet in public places only. They're never alone. They're not allowed to touch each other. Even their compliments are reserved. Okay? They're not that open with compliments. And with the exception of meetings that are done for an hour, 2 hours over coffee, there is no other kind of dynamic between them. And based on that, they need to marry. How do you know what you're going to end up marrying? Okay? You're going to get up in the morning and you're going to discover, all kinds of surprises. You don't know. You never lived with a person, right? That's the question, Petra?
Yeah.
Excellent. Now, anybody who was here in the last few sessions, last couple of sessions, would like to take a crack at that? Because we touched on that subject. Anybody remembers the answer? Yes.
I think first of all, before they even sit down for their coffee, they've already weeded out all of the people that they wouldn't even have a relationship with.
Beautiful.
Someone has already done that. So when they're raising their coffee, they've already said, okay, this person has all of the qualities that I'm looking for.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So let's give out some papers and pen, because I'm going to start giving you guys some pointers as to what to do when you're out on a date. Okay. How do you filter out your partner? How do you rule out who's not going to be a partner?
Yeah, you have here papers and the board. Yeah,
Okay, so let's pass it out. בבקשה, סליחה. ועוד דבר. כן? כן, לתת לו זה? אולטרה? בום. Okay. So it goes like this. Remind me your name? Becca, that's right. Okay. Rebecca started answering the question, and I will elaborate on it a little bit. Before going out on the first date, before going out on any dates, before even putting yourself out on J-date, what you should do is make 3 lists. List number 1 is all your make it or break it. Everything that's a make it or break it. Start breaking it down. Now I need a volunteer or victim to share. Yes. What's your name? Yahel? Yahel? Nice to meet you. Yahel, let's start breaking down your make it or break it. Say there? Let's check our own boundaries. Let's check our own limits. For example, if the woman you're marrying would like to, I don't know, respect other religions and so also do in her home customs, like she would like to have a Hanukkah candle lighting, and she would like to have a Christmas tree, and she would like to keep the Ramadan, you know, she's open. Does that work for you?
Obviously not, I'll be hungry.
Okay, so you need to know exactly where your boundaries are when it comes to spirituality. What you would like, what you wouldn't like, and I'm talking about the limits. For example, let's talk about ages. How old is too young for you?
Legal?
That's right, how old is too young for you? How young is too young? If they call up and they say, hey, look.
Oh my God, everyone's...
But how do you know?
What?
I guess it really depends.
I mean, you know.
Give me an example. How old are you?
21.
Excellent. Now, let's say I get the guy of your dreams. He's magnificent. He's smart. He's handsome.
He's 16.
And he's 16.
It's not.
There you go. So 16 is too low, right?
Ridiculous.
At 17.
Also ridiculous.
20?
Ridiculous.
21?
Also ridiculous.
So the guy is perfect, but he's 21 and you won't even go out with him.
No, because he's still a baby.
That's right. There you go. So there's your limits. Continue. 25?
Yeah.
You will?
Yeah.
24?
Yeah.
3?
Maybe.
22? Is perfect.
Okay, if he's perfect, 22 is fine.
So 22 is your bottom limit. Now let's go to your upper
No,
limit.
that's fine. It doesn't work.
What if he's 40?
No.
But he's perfect. He's rich, he's handsome,
Doesn't
he's
matter.
smart, he's
It won't last
charismatic.
long.
He's an excellent dancer.
No, I'm not into dancers.
35?
No.
32?
No.
Not even 30?
That's like really pushing it.
There you go. So we narrowed it down, right? 23 to 30.
Really, really pushing it.
There you go. So a religious person, before they even go out on a first date, all this stuff has been filtered out. All your make it or breaks it, they don't even meet those. They don't even need to bother. You get the idea? So that's one step. Yes.
Don't you think that might be a little superficial? I mean, I have a friend who, when she was 21, she married a 30-year-old. And if you'd have asked her those questions before she went out with him, she never would have gone out.
Nahon?
Just on the basis that he was 30. But she ended up marrying him, and they're very happy.
Well,
So isn't that really superficial to just say, I'm just going to cut everybody out just because they don't meet my making friends?
It's a decision you need to make before you go on a date. Okay, well, this is something.
Just cut everything off the list before you even go on a date.
That's right. So this forces us, as the decision maker, as the list maker, not to be superficial. You see, as a list maker, as the one who's making the list for yourself, one should not be superficial. But if you are superficial, it's true, you could end up meeting somebody like that. But if you go out without a list, you'll end up being so disappointed along the way because you meet so many of the wrong people, you'll eventually gather up so much baggage and so much junk in your head and so much comparisons that you're going to damage the pattern. So yeah, it's better to be able to give up those few lucky ones we might have connected to in order to not acquire so much junk and fit somebody who meets our standards and marry them and get it over with. One of the things we discussed in previous lectures is there isn't the one. There are plenty ones we could marry. Why not just find somebody that fits the standards and marry them already, rather than keep going through a loop of people who, if we would have known in advance, we wouldn't have even spent the time, or actually wasted the time, to try to build a relationship with them. You see the idea? Yes?
I have a two-parted question. First of all, if we end up marrying someone and it works out, for example, that we thought we would never marry because of age or something else, doesn't that mean that we were just not good at writing that list?
It means that we didn't know ourselves well enough, which is okay. We get to know ourselves with time, and we get to go back and change the list. If you write the list today, and then tomorrow you hear about somebody who married somebody who's older than they are, or has pets, and you say that they worked it out, and you sit down and think with yourself and say, you know what? It's not that big of a deal. They get along with the pet. Maybe I will be able to too. So you go back to your list and you wipe out no pets and you write down, I don't mind if he has pets. Okay? So you can always modify your list, but you have to have something to narrow things down for yourself. Otherwise, you're out there making almost impossible decisions. Say that?
Second part?
Second part?
Compromises, basically. What, like, I would, for example, totally have to include in my list that this person needs to be able to make compromises. That's also what I expect of myself, but that also motivates the list somehow. Do you say that, like, the list is, like, so insufficient in like, real life that compromises already have to take up so much other stuff that we didn't cover?
Okay, so we're gonna hit the clock on the subject of compromise. I'll explain the subject. I don't want to explain it in just 2 words because it's a tough explanation in 2 words. I'll show you what I mean. There are no compromises in a healthy marriage. A healthy marriage is not built on compromise. It's built on working together towards a common goal. Now that requires explanation. That I will do in about 5 minutes because I want to wrap up. How do we filter out a partner?
Okay.
So make a promise to remind me in 5 to 10 minutes. Excellent. Now I said 3 lists, right?
Yeah.
The first list is make it or break it.
I'm sorry, but first of all, you just said that we need to change it because we're changing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, religious people, they get married when they are, like, 20, 21 years old, girls, for instance.
If it's up to me,
If I think
my
about
children,
when I was
I'm
21,
hoping to
like,
marry at
I
18,
see
but I'm with
myself.
you.
Or even before.
Nachon.
You change so much. Like, how can you decide, you know, when you're 18 years old? Like, if I think about 18 years old kids,
Mm-hmm.
it's just way far from, like, the person who I am now.
Nachon?
So,
Nachon? I agree.
I'm already in the marriage and maybe I'm
Nachon?
with kids.
So we'll finish the 3 lists. I'll answer that along with that because they're both the same answer. Now, second list is not make it or break it. It's my preferences. Means, you know what? If he's really a great deal, a wonderful catch, I'll give up this stuff. But I would really, really like it if he X, Y, and Z. Okay?
And as you get older,
That list gets smaller and smaller. That's right. Now, the third and final one is just bonuses. You know, I
like that low.
I won't cross things off. But if she can also ice hockey, you know, that's great. I mean, if she can't, I'll still marry her, but it'll be great if she can ice hockey, okay?
Are you on the third list then?
I'm sorry?
Did you just jump to the third list because I was?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I
Okay?
didn't catch that.
So we've got make it or break it, things that are really important to me, but they're not a make it or break it. And we have bonuses. I'll call those cherries on top of the ice cream. Is that there? So main course, side dishes, dessert. Is that there? Even though I did see an interesting sign that says life is too unpredictable, start with dessert. But we start with the main course. Now, the moment I have a list like that, and I go out on what's called in religious circles a shidduch, and I go on religious circles on a shidduch, then I already filtered out people who will not be suitable for me to begin with. Why bother meeting them? Now, coming from a secular background, myself, I've been through so many dates which evolved into so many relationships, which looking back at them, I knew on the first date that it wasn't even right. I mean, you go out with a person and you see that there's something there and you talk about it and you see that this is not going to work. But you know, we're already here and we're having a wonderful time, so let's just at least enjoy the evening. And we had such a wonderful time last night, let's go out again tomorrow night. And the next thing you know, 6 months have gone by, you're trying desperately to make something that wasn't working to begin with work, and you end up frustrated, you end up sad, you lose faith in the whole process, you lose faith in yourself, your self-image goes down, maybe I'm not okay, maybe I'm unable to build a decent, you know, all this junk comes out, which doesn't even need to be there if we would have never met, because somebody would have just sat with him and said, look, are you willing to go to marry somebody who's been, I don't know what, for example, let's say divorced with kids. And a person says, you know what, I don't mind marrying somebody who's divorced, but I don't want somebody who's divorced with kids. And they never bother putting them together. They just find them somebody who's divorced without kids, put them in the chair in front of them, right? Same date, same everything, just with another guy, and go ahead and try to work it out now. You see the idea? So that's one of the advantages of the filterization process, at which time, after we meet on that basis, we can, or we already have a foundation. Another element is what we discussed a couple of meetings ago, was having the same vision in life. Not identical, the same is not the right word. Having compatible visions in life. Okay? Which means that our goals in life, the places where we aspire to be in 5 or 10 years, are at least compatible with each other. We're at least heading in the same neighborhood. The moment we're there, we head out towards the same neighborhood, we have the same rough goals, then we have the same ideas about how we want to raise our children. Roughly, in general, not exactly.
I have some problems with this explanation.
Uh-huh.
Didn't bring me closer to the fact that when I go for a date, when we both know that we want to find our partner to marry, right? So you do talk about certain things, but it's like you know how to behave on dates, right? Because you learn how to behave in certain situations. And there's another thing, that you have certain attributions that maybe you like, maybe you don't like, maybe you believe that you are this kind of person, and if you ask other people, you're not. You just want to be that kind of person.
Uh-huh.
And these are surprises that nobody can really tell you.
That's right.
Before you are already
נכון,
done.
נכון, נכון. So I'm going to answer that. I just want to wrap up the point of common goals. Our goals have to be compatible. Okay? So we have to be roughly in the same neighborhood. If one of us wants to go save the dolphins in, I don't know, the southern Gulf of Mexico, and the other one wants to build schools and grow vegetables in Israel, that's not really going to work. That's right? Okay, we get the idea? These are geographically distant. If one of us believes in giving kids total and complete freedom, and kids know what they need and what they want, and you should let them evolve naturally, okay? Put a spear in his hand and he'll go hunting. You know, it should evolve naturally. And the other one says, no, kids need structure. They need parents who will build an environment that's more controlling for them until they grow and slowly open up that box and let them out step by step. So we have completely different philosophies as far as child raising goes. Why even bother? Okay? Now some of those things could be determined before we even meet. Some of this we determine at the beginning of our meetings before we get emotionally attached. Okay? So you should rule out your make it or break it before you get to know your partner too well. Now, to answer your question, and your question, so we get to do a review of the past 2 chapters, which I think won't hurt, because I think it's not a bad idea to go over it again. Those are difficult ideas to grasp. There is no way you can know your partner before you marry him. You can get to know a bit of your partner. You can get a rough idea of who your partner is. But even if he wants to be truthful to himself and to you, even if we tie him to a truth machine with the FBI or the Mossad, and we beat the truth out of him, are you really cheap? He's like, yes, I am. I'm sorry. You know, and we profile him down to the point, and we know everything about him. The moment he's gonna marry you, he will change, because people change in nature when their circumstances change. Now, there are circumstances who are temporary, so the change is not that much, and it's not long-lasting. Okay? Person can go into boot camp. They will change. But when they come out of boot camp, if boot camp was not that long, they're pretty much going to go back to their old habits. But when the change is permanent, the person will change permanently. And he cannot project how exactly he will change. So the essence might stay similar, but the change is imminent. We have a married couple in the crowd, right? Woke up the morning after you get married, or a week later, and
Didn't know who she was.
Okay? Now it goes both ways. The reason it happens with women faster than with men is because men don't realize they're married for a few weeks after they get married. They still walk around and they tell them, how's your wife doing? He's a wife? Oh yeah, my wife. You know, that's right. I'm married. Okay? It also happens to them with kids. They have a child and, you know, a month later he's asked, how's your kid? Kid, yeah, he's doing great. A lovely little creature, you know? He eats, cries, poops. What else can a father ask for? So it takes them a while. But the moment that it hits them, wow, I'm married. Okay? To me, it happened the first time I went to buy diapers. Okay? I was walking home with the diapers and it hit me. These are for my house. I'm buying that. This is what adults do. This is what big people do. Diapers. I've got a kid. I'm married. You know, it took me like 20 minutes to walk home. It's only a 5-minute walk, right? 20 minutes, I was walking like this, okay? And then you go through a change. You cannot not go through a change. At which point, your life's training will go into element. If you have been trained, training yourself, to change for the good, to change with your mind and not with your feelings, to let your brain decide where to take your feelings and not your feeling decides where to take your body, then you'll do great. You'll assume that responsibility. You'll take that responsibility. You'll build yourself up. You'll make yourself a better person. Say, hey, I'm a father. I cannot afford to continue being a lazy bum. I'm serving as a horrible example for my kid. I'm going to raise lazy bums. I need to wake up early. I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to improve myself. Then you'll be a wonderful person. And if you are used to games of give and take, games of, and here's the answer to your question, compromise. You know what? I'll get up at night only if you let me sleep a little longer in the morning. And you know, I've got a jack if you'll give me a 10. And it's not a Remy game. Okay? You get up at night and you get up in the morning and you get up in the afternoon because the baby needs you, and that's what you need to do as a parent. It's got nothing to do with compromises. You need to do what you need to do. And
what about the dog, for example? Like, one of them has to make a compromise. There's no way that they can both, like, one of them loves dogs and the other hates dogs. Like, of course they should work on having compatible goals.
Let me explain that concept about compromise.
Getting a dog.
That's a compromise. That's a total compromise, no?
A compromise means...
It's a mixture of a cat and a dog.
There you go. Get a rat, yeah. A compromise means I'll give in today if you'll give in tomorrow. Or even better, you give in today and then I'll give in tomorrow. Now, the issues with compromise are as follows. First of all, everyone always believes that what they compromise is more than what the other one does. Because you can feel the pain of your compromise. You cannot feel the pain of the other person's compromise. So the other person always owes you. Now that tab is going to grow. Until eventually, I can do anything I want. Because my tab is so big, by the 4th child, I don't need to even get up at all. Right? Because I got up at night, and it's much more difficult to get up at night than to get up in the morning, so I build up my tab. I'm exaggerating it, but the idea remains the same. You'll be surprised at the ridiculous arguments couples come to me with. Now, they're not arguing that issue. They're arguing for years of issues. Of what? Of compromises. That's why we need to change. If there is something that my partner does, and I want to make this relationship work, I need to accept and love it. The way that marriage is going to work is if she gets to love that puppy. But as long as she's compromising it, he's in debt. Luckily they were talking, so they didn't hear what I said. You get the idea? Compromise, out of the window. Compromise to the... Now, where did we get the concept of compromise? A little flash of history. Western civilization does not believe in change. Western civilization believes that you're a monkey who managed to shave yourself really well. You're a shaved monkey with a cell phone. Animals are unable to change. There's no such concept as change in animals. Animals can be trained. They can never be changed. Training is called a compromise. I'll do what you want. Give me a candy or whatever you give. Horses, a carrot, okay? So Western civilization is all about compromises because they don't understand change is possible. I don't blame them. Change is impossible if you don't have the user's manual. Okay? Now, it's not really supposed to be called the user's manual. It's supposed to be called the manufacturer's manual. because the manufacturer is the one who gave us the manual, not the user. Okay? Without it, we have no idea how to change. We do trial and error, and when it comes to marriage, trial and error doesn't work. When it comes to marriage, the rules of logic don't work.
When it comes to love, the rules of logic don't work.
That's right. That's right. So how can you scientifically develop something that's not scientific? Well, the manufacturer doesn't need science to discover it. He put it together, he'll tell us how to make it work. And if you don't have it, you're right. You end up having to do nothing but compromises. Which is why from the moment you make your first compromise, you can start counting down the days before your bucket of compromises is filled, and you need to move on to the next relationship to start your next bucket of compromises. You get the idea? No compromises in marriage. We build it properly, we build it right, and we build it by changing ourselves. Every time I run into something wrong, you saw the example of the person with the psychiatrical problem, right? Even though presumably she was completely cheated into the situation, I still also took some of the responsibility to her court and told her, take a look at yourself. What is it that you can change to be able to make things like that not happen again? Marriage is all about self-change, self-evolving, self-development. And if you don't have it, and if you don't see it in your partner, either wait to get married or find another partner. You get the idea? Because if your partner is not there to change, it's not going to happen. And if you're not there to change, I mean, the worst thing a person can tell me within a marriage or before they get married is, I want somebody who will accept me the way I am. Lama. Why? Because you're so perfect that you need to stay exactly the same and they need to change. No, you're going to need to change and he's going to need to change. Right? So the moment a person says that, says, that's the way I am like this, then you have just announced yourself as to being closer to the animal than to a human being. Because that's what an animal is. An animal cannot be changed. Well, you cannot have a marriage with an animal. Okay? You can try, but it doesn't really work. Yes?
I don't mean to be redundant, but so can people change? But like, you know what I mean? Like, no, like people go into relationships, like girls especially, they go into like these relationships and they say, yeah, but like, you know, he like if only he did this, or I would wish he would change this, and and the person says, yeah, like, you know, don't worry, I'm trying to change that for you, something, and it never seems to happen. Like you always just hear about this. And Dorel's mom said,
but you can never change a man to what you want him to be.
So
You have a smart mother.
Yeah, extremely.
Okay, I'll answer that in short and long, and we move on to her question because she really wants to ask. Nahon? There you go. Okay. First of all, everyone can change. Everyone can change. There are conditions to it. A, there are certain virtues within men and women that are borderline impossible to change, extremely difficult to change, mamash borderline. We should try to work around them. Two, and by the way, those are not so individual. I'm talking about things that are across the border. If you guys really want to, and you'll remind me at the end of the night before they drag me away, I will give you some pointers as to what things cannot be changed in men and what things cannot be changed in women for you to look for in your partner and to prepare yourself for that in your partner. Second thing, since we said everybody can change, they need to know how to change and they need to want to change. So in order for you to affect your partner, you need to invoke the willingness in them to change and need to provide them with the knowledge as to how to change. So no, I cannot change my partner. It's kind of like taking a horse to water. I can bring him to water. I can make him real thirsty. I cannot force him to drink. But if I get him real thirsty and I bring him to the water, there's a good chance he'll drink. The biggest problem is that people try to change others in more direct, inaccurate ways, and they get nowhere with that, and then they arrive at the false conclusion that people cannot change. It's not true at all. I changed, my wife changed, otherwise we wouldn't be able to last. There's no way to last in marriage unless you change, unless you decide on becoming roommates. There are a lot of married couples who have decided to become roommates. Then they don't need to change because they're not married. Marriage requires change. If you see a successful marriage, and I'm happy to provide you with an example, Baruch Hashem, me and my wife, then that means we've changed. And anyone who knows us and knew us before we got married are witnesses to how much we've changed. The problem is that they lack the right knowledge. They don't have the user's manual. And they don't know how to invoke the will to change in their partners. I'll do a short demonstration. What's your name?
Tal.
Botal. Come, help me out. How are you, Tal?
Nice.
Okay,
Oh.
now, Tal, you comfortable here?
Yes.
Good, it's a nice place to be, right?
Yes.
But I would like you over there. Good. Now, you did my will, because I asked you nicely.
Yeah.
I would like you over there, right?
Okay.
But if I do this, your first
Not
instinct, exactly, it's not nice anymore.
Not nice.
It's not nice.
Welcome to the marriage life.
Now, what was your first instinct? What did your body do before your brain even understood that I'm trying to push you? The first thing your body did is tense up and push back.
Yes.
Now, is there anything wrong with standing a little closer to those ladies?
No.
Nothing wrong. So why did you push back?
Okay.
Because I pushed you.
Okay. The way you do it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. You see what I mean? I pushed him into a place he might not even mind being in. But the moment I push him into that place, his first instinct is to push back. And then I start discussing with him logically. But what's so wrong with that place? He says, I don't know what's wrong, but you're pushing me. I'm pushing back. And there you go. Now, a much smarter thing to do would be to go over here and say, oh, it's so nice in here. Oh, it's great. Taz, why don't you join me? He'll be a lot more motivated to change, right? There you go. That's one tip. There are a lot more of those, and that's what the user's manual is all about.
It's all about becoming like a manipulator.
Absolutely. Got it right. Congratulations. It's exactly like becoming a good manipulator. The only thing is that you're manipulating the person into a place that's mutually beneficial. It's like manipulating my son into going to the dentist. Am I manipulating him? Yes. For whose benefit is it?
Yes.
Actually, both of us. I also want to sleep at night. Say that? We get the idea?
Yeah.
So manipulation is not a bad thing. It depends on how you use it. A knife is not a bad thing either. That's how I get steak on my table. It depends on how you use it. But you have to know how to do it right. If you do it wrong, or you do it for the wrong reasons, then yeah. Your turn.
I just didn't really get the difference. I mean, like the examples were not equal for me. Like compromise and changing.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you gave the example of changing, it was like there's no question about I have a kid. I need to wake up. I need to take care of the kid. But compromising, like in their case, like one wants a dog, the second person doesn't want a dog. So one can say that, okay, I really don't want a dog, but I do care about the other person. I do love the other person. So okay, let's take a dog. But still inside of her, maybe she's gonna look at the dog and like, oh my God, I hate this dog.
That's why I said that compromise won't work. If she will not
Yeah,
come
but
to
what-
love the dog, eventually it'll blow.
Yeah, but
So she needs to learn how to love the dog. How do you learn how to love something you don't love? We've got the user's manual for that.
What if the other one learns first to hate dogs?
thing.
What if the other one learns first to hate dogs?
I'm sorry?
What if, like, isn't it all about who succeeds first to manipulate the other one? But because, like, what if the other one learns first to hate dogs? Like,
No,
seriously.
because there is a certain guidelines. There are certain guidelines to it. There are certain guidelines as to what, how a home should be built, what things are better or worse. Not everything is subjective. There are certain things that are objective. It doesn't mean that if a person comes in and has one idea and the other one is an opposite idea, it's now solely left to compromise. There are certain things that are just simply objective. It's either good or not good. And no, not everything is a matter of debate, discussion, compromise, or change. Is that there?
So how does she get to love the dog?
Yeah.
How do you get to love the dog? Okay.
I'll take care of that.
Now, next week we've got Purim coming up. We're going to discuss happiness. Happiness, there you go, we started. Happiness is something kind of like love. In addition to love, we're actually commanded. Now, when I command somebody to do something and I don't tell him how to do it, what's the point of commanding him? Get it? So if God commanded us to put a mezuzah on the door, and He doesn't tell us what a mezuzah is and how it's supposed to get on the door, what kind of a command is that? So just like when He commanded us to put a mezuzah on the door, He gave us the instructions as to how to make it happen. When He commanded us to be happy and to love our God, our partner, and so on and so forth, our fellow Jew, He told us how to make that happen. I don't want to spoil next week's lecture. You guys are just going to have to stay in suspense for 7 days. You
She's
guys
gonna have to walk the dog, isn't she?
get
No, like to love it. Like she'll actually have to do everything.
Not everything, but yeah, that's part of it. Mm-hmm.
the nice
Can
thing.
I make a comment on this? We're not an ideal
Where do I
couple
get the
to take
manual?
examples from. So
Where do I get the manual? Okay, so we get the idea? So yeah, one's sacrifice for something creates a connection. That's definitely one of the steps. It's not everything, but it's one of the steps. Yes?
You said last week that you were going to answer this question that I had.
Okay.
About how do you, if you're dating someone, how do you get to know their virtues? Like what you're looking for and what you're not looking for.
So you want all my trade secrets? Okay, so you're out on a date.
You've already eliminated all the.
Yeah, we eliminated all the makes it or breaks it. We went in there and we did, the whole matching business. And you know what? It's somebody that things could work out with. Okay? First of all, we made sure that this person even wants to get married. A lot of people are out there just to have fun and see you later. So we eliminated all that junk and we met with somebody who could potentially become a partner for life. How do I know who's sitting in front of me? Now, we said that people change, right? But certain virtues are not really going to change. And when I say certain virtues, I mean the core of the person. A person is divided into two. Everything external to them, their title, how many degrees they have from the university, how fast they do math, how well they read, how good they play hockey, okay? All that good stuff. That's external. There is internal, how kind they are, how patient they are, okay? How openly giving they are with money, the opposite of cheap, okay? These are one's virtues. In Hebrew it's called midot. Okay? Midot. It's the same word. A direct translation is measurements. One's actual measurements are his or her virtues. Okay? It's basically what's left of you after you die. After you die, you don't get to take your degree up there. And they don't care how fast you do math problems. Nor do they care how much money you have or how good of a salesperson you are. What do you take with yourself are your virtues. If you're a kind person here, you'll be a kind soul there. If you're a jealous person here, you'll be a jealous soul there. Your virtues you take with you. By the way, we know that unlike what other people think, death does not do you part. Whomever you marry, you're stuck with over there eternally. Yes.
But if you divorce them, then it's okay. Or you have to meet up again.
You do wonderful things. Yeah. You know what? Just before you marry, you mind signing this divorce, please? I don't get to divorce them before they die. I mean, I'm talking about building good, healthy. That's right. If you divorce them, they're not there
What if
anymore.
they're both widows and then they both remarry,
Mm-hmm.
and then everyone dies in the end?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they've got their spouses there already waiting for them.
Nahon. They go back to their spouses.
The original ones?
Yeah.
And then the
Widowed, yes. Divorced, no. Now, this is not mysticism. 3 weeks from now. Now let's go back to our stuff. Now, the virtues, one's virtue, are not going to change. So you're stuck with them over there eternally with their virtues, which is why we change here. Because if you don't change here, there you cannot change. How do you change? By actions. Actions cause change. You don't have a body. You cannot do actions. No actions, you're stuck. Whatever status you're in, that's exactly how you're going to be. Eternally. We get the idea? Of course, I'm talking about one's spiritual status, and I'm referring to virtues specifically. How do I check one's virtues? That was the question. Now we'll start answering it. You didn't pull me up yet. We're doing good. Okay. Okay. The way we check a person's virtue is by being a sneaky snake. We cannot check one's virtues directly. If he's asked, and I'm talking in male form just because I'm answering a woman, it goes both ways. If he's asked, he'll answer the question, he'll answer the answer he thinks you want to hear. If you'll say, fine, I won't ask him, I'll just see how he acts towards me. Well, he's got an interest. So that's not going to work either. One thing we can do is eliminate the interest. Means, I don't know what your interest is. You're not getting anything till we get married. So now, I don't have a point in playing the game anymore because I have to commit. So if I committed, I'm married to you for life. I don't want to be stuck with you for life if you don't even know who I am and you think I'm somebody else and you're going to come to me with all kinds of expectations because that's who you believe I am. So here, you know what? This is who I am. That's one way to do it. In addition to that, that's not enough. Because after all, you look at a person's face and you already have an interest. The second element is to talk about third parties, to discuss things, just arbitrary ideas, friends, cousins, things that happened to us in the past, and to measure his or her reactions. For example, I will tell a story in which I left the workplace to join a friend to open the company. And we were working for minimum wage because the company just opened up and there was no money. And after 9 months, the company went broke and they never paid the last 2 months' salary of any of the workers. And the first question they're going to ask is, what did you do? I said, I'll be honest, I did nothing. And they're going to ask, why not? I would have sued them. I said, look, he lost his company. He was already in debt. If he had the money, I'm certain he would have paid me. I made a choice to keep a friend and give up the money. I now measure their reaction. Their reaction will tell me a lot more about them than any question I could ask. Which is why religious couples sit there in a coffee shop and just talk, in restaurants and just talk. This is what they do. They investigate each other. If they know how to do it right. If they're not guided as to how to do it right, they sit there and yabba blubber blubber, they marry and they have no idea who they married. It could also happen, but if they're guided right, like I've just started guiding you guys, that's how you do it.
Are you allowed to check how much tip did the person leave?
You should. You should check how much tip they leave. You should get up to go to the bathroom and look how they act and how they react to their environment. You should look how they act toward the waiter and waitress and the everybody around them. Yeah, you should look at how they drive if you're in a car with them. Okay?
But it's true.
Because these are things that they do in instinct. You should look at how their phone manners are.
And your kid will be in the car with
Okay? Phone manners tell me about my clients before I even meet my client. I just have, a couple of conversations, a couple of SMS messages, and before my client even sits in a chair in front of me, I already know half of what I need to know about him.
What do you mean?
If a person will filter you out, if a person will respond to you via SMS or a text message or actually call you and tell you what they think. Okay? Every one of these things have meanings. Another, yes?
Are these measures valid even with your presence?
They're the best you can do.
That's the best we can do.
Yeah. Next thing is to hand him over to the Mossad and have them investigate it. But with the exception of that, it's now another thing that we have that's huge, and it's true and it's wonderful. It works great, and it's a lot more accepted in religious circles than non-religious circles. Is to investigate the person by other people who know him. Before even the first meeting, I already know what his neighbors know, what his friends know, what the people who study with him know, his teachers, everything.
That's the same investigation that the Mossad's doing.
Absolutely. You see, he's got it. Nachon? Exactly the thing. I will, you send out your brothers and your fathers and your mothers, and if you're investigating a woman, you send out your mother and your sister and your aunts and female cousins, and they go and they talk to those people, and they find out about him, because a person can pretend only so much, right? Neighbors know a lot more than you can think they know, especially in Israel. And even if not in Israel, especially in religious communities, which is good for my purposes when I want to know if I should marry this person or not. Okay? What do their teachers think about them? Their teachers sat in front of them for hours a day, every single day, for months and sometimes years. What's a better way to get to know somebody? Okay? Yes?
Aren't you then operating out of a base assumption that everybody you're going to talk to is a good person and is going to say good things? What if they're just a bad person, the person that you're going to talk to, and they're just going to say nasty things because that's the kind of person they are?
And
That's
yeah,
right.
what if they're your
People out
friends,
there.
but they don't have a best interest at
That's why
all?
it's better to have a lot of people out
That's why we never rely on one source of information. That's why you investigate.
I've heard stories about how the neighbor said something that was really bad, and that completely ruined the whole shidduch. And then, even though they talked to other people, and other people didn't know about this incident, but the neighbor made up some incident that happened that never really happened, and the neighbor told them, well, now nobody really knows about this. And then, but they still didn't go on the shidduch.
That's left to your judgment. You have to decide how open you are to the information, how reliable each source is, and how to put it together. You're right. It's left up to you to be able to make that decision. It's your decision how much weight to give to each piece of information you receive. It's up to you, but it's definitely a way to find out. Yes?
Are midot more important than other factors that you want to take into consideration? For example, if one of the like the man or the guy, or the man or the woman is more religious than the other one, but they feel that, you know, even though they're not as religious than me, their midot just make up for it. Like, how successful can that marriage be? Can you base it just on their midot? But they have such a good heart and they're such a good person that, you know, I think that they will be able to change. Or can you do that?
I'll tell you what I look for in a partner. They're going to yank me out in just 5 minutes. They're going to yell at me for going overtime again. And they're going to yank me out. So I'll give you guys the tip I give all of my clients as to what to look for in a partner. You ready? This is many years of knowledge summed up into 5 sentences. 1, look for a person's willingness to change, not how much they want to change. Everybody wants to change. Everybody wish they were thinner and in better health and this and that. Look at how much they want to change. Now, a subcategory of that is look at how much they want to change their virtues, not necessarily their external elements. Diet, how smart they are, these are nice things to change in, but they're not their virtues. Look at how much they're willing to change. How do I know how much they're willing to change? Do they go to workshops? Do they read books? Have they done anything to try to change the negative qualities within them? Have they done anything to investigate the negative qualities within them? Okay? If you got to change 5 things in yourselves, what would they be? That's an excellent question for a date. Okay? Now, are they only external things, or does he also want to change himself? Does he only tell me about his hair color and his height and how much money he's got in the bank account? Or is he talking about his own virtues? I want to be a kinder person. I want to be more patient.
First date or second date?
Or third.
I keep it for a third.
Ah, you see, I was wrong. I said third.
Given the conditions that I said, which are you don't get to get any benefits until we're married. Okay? But if I go out and then I'll never get right answers anyway, so it doesn't matter. Say that? Second element. Do we go by the same guidebook? Do we have the same way of setting a role in life? Setting a way in life?
Does that refer to what you said, that some things are just right or wrong?
Uh-huh.
But how do I find out about everything? What if there's one point?
I'll tell you, I told my wife a simple thing. I told her, look, because when I met her, I wasn't religious yet, but I did find out that I went to an Archim seminar, so those who are going to come are going to be able to see that there are certain things there are true scientifically. I mean, you can't really deny that. So once I realized those things, I came back and I said, look, I found out that we have a user's manual, that God created the world and gave a user's manual. And it's here. It's just coded, and we need to know how to understand it. But it's here. And there are those who understand it. I don't know exactly what's in it yet, completely. I know a little bit here, a little bit there. I also know there's a lot of misinformation out there. I know that there are a lot of things that I thought are in it that are not. Okay? So I'm going to go out there and I'm going to find out. But one thing I know, if God made this manual, then it's true. And if that's the way it needs to be, then that's the way I'm going to be. If you're going to the same place, hop on, we'll ride together. Say that? So I don't need to know everything, but I need to know who I go to find out. And if they agree, and they also want to go there to find out, then we're doing good. Then I don't mind how religious they are. Because once we adhere to the same set of rules, 90% of our arguments, discussions, fights, disagreements are out of the window. My wife and I have a very difficult time developing a fight. It's real simple. We start discussing something. We find out that we have different opinions about it. She explains her points. I comment on her points and explain mine. She comments on mine and explains hers. After a little while, we get to one of two things. Either A, we see eye to eye and come to a decision, or we start going in circles. At which time, most couple will go into a power play. We cannot go into a power play because any discussion at any point could be stopped with a sentence of, you know what, we'll take it to the rabbi and see what he says. Now, the rabbi doesn't give me his opinion. With all the love I have for my rabbi, and believe me, I love him as a human being, I don't go to him as a human being. I go to him as a speaking book. I tell him, Rabbi, look at the user's manual, and please check out under these circumstances, what's the correct set of action? And he tells me, under these circumstances, the correct set of action is this, this, and that. At which time there is no sides, and no, he loves me more and he loves me less, and there's no, I was right and you were right. There were times we were both wrong. There were times we agreed and we were both wrong. We sat down, discussed something, we came to the same conclusion. I went gloating to my rabbi, just, not to even ask a question. I was just discussing something else with him. I said, by the way, we thought about this and that, and you might be proud to know that we came to an agreement over that decision, and we decided that. And then he says, first of all, I'm very glad that you guys communicate well, and everything is great, but the decision you came to has got nothing to do with the user's manual. The user's manual says this is that. Are you serious? Yes. So, I gotta make a phone call, I'll be right back. Okay? And so 90% of our problems out the window. So that's the second thing you check. Third thing you check is attraction. Good old physical chemistry.
That's the first thing. Definitely not the third. Sorry.
Physical attraction in some cases could take time to develop. So often you meet a person, and though they don't look that attractive to you, after spending time with them and getting to know them, not only are they fascinating and interesting, they start becoming attractive. Actually physically attractive, which means if we were to connect electrodes to your brain and put you in front of that person, not only would the departments of intrigue and curiosity will light up, but the department of sexuality will light up as well. And that sometimes take time. Not always, but sometimes it could take time. Okay? And more often than not, those who we develop a chemistry with, we build better marriages with than those we have it right off the bat. Now, again, it's not a rule, but it's more often than not. Okay? Fourth element we look for in a partner is good-heartedness, basic fatherhood, motherhood skills, wishes, wills, not necessarily skills, but their will and want to be a good parent, have children, be good parents, and their humbleness. Simple, good old, almost extinct humbleness. Because if a person is not humble, change is out of the window. Me? I should change? Are you kidding? You know who I am? I've been valedictorian of this and played quarterback for that, and I've done all kinds of nonsense that have nothing to do with being a better or worse husband, and now I have all the elements I need in order to never change and just watch you squirm. Okay? So without humbleness, the deal is out of the window. Now with virtues, it's never a yes or no. Good-heartedness, the will to have children and raise them properly, Okay? Those things are not a yes and no question. Kind of like accepting the user's manual. That's a yes and no question. But virtues are not. It's left up to you to decide whether this person is somebody you want to take or not. So we didn't take all the fun out of it yet. Questions? Yes?
Sort of back to a while ago, but this make it or break it list.
Uh-huh.
To what extent is it like everybody should sort of agree that these things are make it or break it things, and to what extent is it subjective?
I'll tell you,
How do you know if you're being too picky on your make it or break it list, or?
So what I did is I went out and I investigated the subject scientifically. Basically, I went to marriage counselors because I was studying the subject anyway, so I had access to them. And I started asking them backwards. I mean, how do you solve a maze? You start from the cheese and you work your way out, right? Much easier than working your way in from outside. So I went in and I said, okay, tell me what most couples divorce over. And let's make sure these things are not in my marriage, right? And when I went in and I found out what most couples divorce over and what most marriages go down the sewage for, I ended up with the list I just gave you.
Saying these five.
These five were my make it or break it list. Yeah, that's why I proposed to my wife on the third date. Okay, as a secular person, by the way, not as a religious one. I wasn't religious yet. But I knew where I was going. I knew what my goals were in life, as far as I knew not necessarily whether I want to build a company or I want to become a second degree scientist or whatever it is. That was not the goals I was discussing with my wife, because that does not make my marriage any better or any worse. I discussed with her, I told her that I found out that there is a way to build a proper marriage, and I don't know all the details, but I know who has it, and I'm willing to adhere to that set of rules and codes. Are you game? And she said yes. I said, good. 1 down, 3 to go. Okay? And I told her that I found out that it's all about self-change, and if we try to say the same, we're going to end up in our parents' marriages, and that's the last thing any one of us wants. And she said it makes sense. I understand. I also realized that people need to change. So that's 2 out of 2, not bad. I actually started with saying, look, I don't want to come off the wrong way because I wasn't on the shidduch. So nobody did the filterization process for me. I had to do it myself. So on the first 7 minutes of our date, I explained my intentions on this date. I told her, look, I don't want to come off wrong. What you see is not what you get. We met, kind of like any other young couple meets, but my intentions are not to date you. I'm not interested in a girlfriend. I'm done and through with that. I'm looking for a wife. Is that where you are in life? I said, and if not, which is perfectly fine. I've got friends who would love to date you. Okay? She says, no, I also am fed up with it. I really want to settle down. I'm looking for a husband. I said, good. Go ahead, order a meal. And that's when we started our discussion. So I started with that. And the second point, then I wanted to check the virtues. The virtues I did not check on the first date. I checked on the second date. We went out and we met with friends, and I saw her interact with kids. And I saw, now again, I'm not telling people to do it so fast. I had professional training to be able to do that. But that's the idea. Okay? And even as a non-religious person, I'm talking almost, what do you mean almost? There's no romantic contact between us? Nothing. No gifts exchanging, nothing. I want to know, without being biased, who I'm dealing with. And I put my cards on the table as well, and I saw how she reacts. I had discussions with her, like I said. I brought examples, and I saw her reaction to subjects. On the third date, we talked about our common goals in life, where we're heading towards. And when all seemed fine, and I realized that whatever is not perfectly matched, since we're both here to work and willing to change, we will make happen in time. I didn't really propose. I kind of raised my head from the plate and I told her I'm going to marry her, and I went back to eating. And it took her a couple of weeks to actually believe me. And that's how we did it. Yeah. Now, there are certain things, to answer your question, that were completely nonsense. I didn't even bother checking. For example, when I proposed to my wife, I didn't even know what her father does for a living. Now, people waste a lot of time yapping about all this junk. My family, your family, what my dad does, where I was, where I've been, who, ha, he, ha, who. What's the point? And if her father is a plumber or I don't know, a private contractor or a owner of a computer company, is that going to make my marriage better or worse? So why bother? You see what I mean? I discuss only things that have to do with my marriage. And what makes a marriage happen and what doesn't. I go to the final result, a healthy, successful marriage versus a broken marriage, and what makes the difference over there is what I check now. We get the idea? We good? Questions so far? Yes?
I think I missed the 5th volume. The last one. The 4th was the
Humbleness.
And
The 5th was humbleness.
The 5th was humbleness.
Ah. And the 4th is virtues?
Good-heartedness.
I don't know the difference between both. Because I'm Israeli, I don't know some words in English.
It's true, humbleness is one of the virtues, anava. Anava is one of the virtues. But anava is not another virtue. Anava is the basis to all other virtues, which is why it gets a category in itself. Without anava, none of the other virtues mean anything. If you have anava, there is something to start working with. So anava is in a category in itself.
Okay.
Say there?
Yes, thank you.
So now you guys have everything you need to go out and get married. No more excuses. Okay? Basically, yes.
What are some of the things that can't be changed?
Oh, you kept that one for that.
Exactly for that.
Say there? You guys do realize that if my ride leaves, you guys are going to have to drive me home, right? Okay. I'll give you a few of them. I'm not giving everything up yet, but there is a few. There are 3 things that, at least from my experience, but that's what the books say, no woman can stand. And this is for the men, I'm saying, not for the women. Men, there are 3 things no woman can stand. Oh, by the way, just a general rule, it's a mistake I see people do on dates constantly. 5 דקות, 10 דקות, 7, כמה יש לי? שעה?
שנייה.
Okay. There's just one piece of advice that I see people, a mistake that I see people constantly make. I have to tell you guys, people, when you go on a date, you have never been out with anyone before. Do not start sharing your past dating experiences. Do not ask about your other person's, the person you're dating experiences. And if they start sharing, shut them up. Now, I never had to say this. Just a few years ago, people knew this as common sense. Today, I see more and more people, I don't know, there's something in the water, the IQ is going down, I don't know. People go out and start talking about what their ex-boyfriends and girlfriends were like. I mean, that has to be idiotic to do, but I see it more and more happening. You guys have a warning, never do that. You should know nothing about your partner's past relationships. They should know nothing about yours.
Ever?
Ever.
Why?
I already got the 1 minute mark.
Isn't that so dangerous? I don't know.
I'm sorry?
Isn't that so dangerous? I kind of want to know where my husband's been around, like.
I want to know.
You won't get the right information. You only
What
get
if it's
stuff that's going to
important?
Yeah,
harm
what
you.
if it's
Get medically
important?
tested.
To
I'm
like
sorry?
who you are.
You're not going to know the truth anyway. You're only going to gather information that's going to harm your relationship. If you were able to find out the truth, then maybe there was a value in asking. You can never find out the truth. You're only going to gather information that's going to hurt your relationship. Say there? You got an answer to why not?
Yes.
Great. Now, there are things that are not going to change, or actually things that people should get themselves ready for when they marry the other side. There are certain things men need to know when you marry a woman. Okay? Now, again, if we're talking about idiotic things, it would be dumb and idiotic to buy a vehicle, take it home, and not know what you need to do with it. How to take care of it, how to drive it, how to maintain it. Now, a car is a very simple thing. Even if you did something wrong, what's the worst that's going to happen? Give it to the mechanic, pay him $500, and he'll repair or replace whatever it is that went broke, and the car will drive great again. It's completely idiotic to take a partner home, being a man or a woman, not know what this person really needs, because they themselves don't know, and not know what you need and not do right, where you cannot always repair the damages you make. And even if you do partially repair the damages you make, she's going to remind you 15 years later that back in the days you said this and did that. Okay? So, we need to know the basic things, what men need to know when they take a woman, and what a woman needs to know when she takes a man. And since they don't know, like a car doesn't know how to tell you what kind of oil it needs, but you need the user's manual for that. The person themselves don't know what they need within a marriage. They've never been married. We go back to the user's manual for that. Now, I already got my 1 minute mark. I'm out of the door. However, you guys, the ones who do sign up for the Archim seminar, will have me for 3 whole days. With a lot of coffee, we'll have a lot of time there. We'll be able to share a lot of that information. This information I usually divulge only when I speak to the groups separately. I will not tell the women what the men need to do. I'll tell them what they need to do, what the women need to do, and I won't do it backwards either. So I take groups separately and I teach them what they need to prepare within themselves in order to be a good partner. That you're going to learn in the seminar, and if time is a little more giving, maybe after the Purim session, we'll have time to do a little bit of question-answer in this subject. Just to give you one pointer, for example, men. Women cannot stand men who are cheap.
Yeah.
And I mean any woman. I don't care who you marry. I don't care what her living conditions were before you married. You can take a homeless woman. If you're cheap, she won't be able to stand you. How does she know I'm cheap? She's homeless anyway. She's gonna know you're cheap. Men, work on it before you marry. Don't start working on it after you marry. And if you don't know if you're cheap or not, assume you are. Women, men cannot stand criticism. Their egos are too big to handle it. If you're a criticizer type, it doesn't have to be necessarily towards men. It could be towards anything. If it's too cold for you, and if it's too hot for you, and if the movie could have been better if it was like this or like that, or the meal would have been is nice, but my mom makes it better. If you're the criticizing type, no man will be able to stand it. Their egos doesn't allow it. Their egos don't allow it. Work on it from now. And if you have nothing to work on because you don't have a partner, start working on criticizing your environment. And if you live in the desert in a cave, start working on self-criticism. Those are just 2. There is more. Thank you very much. I had a wonderful night. Good night. Oh, and if